This might look like another Audi sedan to you, but I think this is one of the most important vehicles in Audi's new lineup. Welcome to Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and I'm here with the 2025 Audi A6 e-tron. This is the basis of what Audi is going to be building a lot of their vehicles off of, and I don't mean everything is going to be an A6. It is on a new platform, and that is a big deal. It's on a platform called PPE, and that is going to underpin two new Audis. This sedan, well, it's a Sportback, more on that in a second, and the Q6, which is their electric crossover of about the same size. Now, this is a platform shared with Porsche. They co-developed it, and this is going to set the groundwork for a lot of what they are building moving forward on their electric vehicle front. So then let's take a little tour and I'll show you what this thing is, and then of course we'll get on the road and give it a drive. So first things first, you'll notice this is kind of a mid-size sedan sort of shape, and it indeed is. This is every other A6 you've seen. It's going to be that. It's meant to slot between an A4 and an A8, and the one nice thing is this is a Sportback. So just like the RS7 Sportback that I've driven before a couple times, this is nice and big. It's got a huge rear trunk opening. And what that means is you're not gonna have as much restriction as you would with a typical 3-box sedan. So you have this nice big opening here, and then of course the second row of seats does fold down, which is super helpful, so you can put some big objects in there. Now, if we come back to the side profile of this thing, you will notice that it's a little slab-sided. It's got a pretty tall floor. Audi actually makes a big deal in their press release about this black blade thing going on here for the styling, and that's because they want to highlight that this has a battery in it, but also there's a lot of battery in the floor here. If we open the driver's door, you'll see just how high up the seat is mounted compared to where the floor is. So that's what they're kind of doing. It's a little visual trickery to show you what they're doing, and also just make sure they've got room for the battery. It's kind of hard on a sedan to do that. Now, this is going to be an all-wheel drive model. Audi does have rear-wheel drive models as their starting point, but I think most people will buy the all-wheel drive, as people tend to do these days. This one has two motors, one per axle, and it is going to be 456 horsepower in total. Audi does not give you a full torque output. That is just because the motors output torque differently, and I think it's kind of hard to measure, but either way, 456 horsepower, and if you want a faster one, there's the S6 e-tron that is 500 and something. Now, this uses a 100 kilowatt hour battery that is good for 333 miles on these 20-inch wheels. If you want a little bit more mileage, you can drop the wheels and go down to a 19-inch wheel, and you will have 377 miles of range. All right, so we're in the cabin of the A6 e-tron, and we're gonna start with the driver's door panel. You'll notice there's some wood here. It feels kind of like faux wood trim to me, and then of course you've got your leather-ish sort of covering here on the side panel. But what's more important is this whole control panel right here. So Audi has replaced a lot of physical controls with this kind of touchpad moment. So you've got your door locks, your headlights, your mirror controls, your memory seats, and your rear child safety door lock button things. This is a panel. These are all touch-based sensor sort of buttons, and while they do work, I kind of struggle to understand the benefit of this to the customer versus real buttons, and that is especially important because Audi kept real window controls here, which is a smart thing. This, I think, is less of a smart thing. I don't really like that too much. Now, moving to what you're going to stare at with your steering wheel and all of that, this is a new steering wheel design, and again, it's got touch controls. These are buttons you can click, and then they are also things you can swipe up and down. This is pulling a page out of the Volkswagen ID4 playbook, and I really don't like it. I don't see the benefit because these should be buttons. But in any case, this is going to be for your media over here and your infotainment plus your heated steering wheel, and then over here you've got controls for your digital cockpit, which is the central gauge cluster screen. Now, screens are a big part of this for Audi. This is going to be your digital cockpit, your virtual cockpit rather, which is something they've had for a very long time. You've got different views that you can have here, and then you've also got your other infotainment screen that's the main setup here. This is a new setup for Audi. They got rid of the two-screen setup that they've had on certain models, and this is what you're going to get. So you have a lot of different apps and things you can have here. This runs on Android Automotive, so while it does support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for the sake of phone mirroring, there is also the Play Store, and you can download different apps. In this case, there's a game and a weather app and YouTube and all that. So you can have all that on here, or you can just go to CarPlay if that's what you prefer. Now, What is interesting here, if you use the main navigation, this of course ties in very well with the rest of the car, and Audi will give you augmented reality navigation, which is really, really hard to show, but you do have a heads-up display right here that's projected out onto the windshield, and it will project arrows for where you need to be turning. It will project speed limit signs as they change, and it's actually really, really helpful. So I've been using the built-in nav. This relies on Google Maps, so it is as accurate as your phone would be if that's your preferred map app of choice. You've got a persistent row of climate controls down here, and also for your heated seats, ventilated seats. That's all going to be accessible all the time. This is a pretty easy system to use. I've been pretty happy with it. There's a lot of menus though, a lot of things to tap into and control. It's a lot to take in. Granted, the benefit is you get a lot of customization in the car. It's just a lot, especially if we go to driver assistance. There's a lot going on here if we go into all of this. They do a nice job of explaining what everything is, but you know, you've got sub-menus on sub-menus, so it can just be a lot. Now looking over to the passenger side, this is where I question, again, this is an industry thing, not an Audi thing, but we have a passenger side screen. I don't know who is asking for these screens. I really, really don't. But they're here. And if you really care, you can have one. If you don't want this, it's going to be shiny black plastic, which might not be any better. But this will let you do a lot of things. It is polarized, so the driver allegedly can't see it, and you can download apps and do different things on here, I guess, if you really want. I don't want, but in any case, what's nice with the passenger display and the driver display is that they tie into the sound system pretty well. This has a Bang & Olufsen 3D sound, surround sound system that is generally quite good. And what's interesting is this car has headrest speakers. So in both my headrest and the passenger front headrest, those speakers will specifically be used for things like a phone call or navigation directions on my side, or YouTube or separate music on the passenger side. So kind of interesting. It's a neat use of the technology. Again, I don't know if I really care so much for the sake of front passenger. I'd prefer we just talk or you take a nap, but whatever. Now looking down at the center here, this is really nice. There's a lot of space, a lot of storage. So you've got a couple USB-C ports and a 12-volt socket, and then a big open mat down here. You do have a wireless charger right here. So a lot of space here. A start-stop button. The car does turn on when you just get in and put your foot on the brake. Drive select gives you your drive modes, as you can see here. I've got a few options here, and you can customize these as well. And then your hazard, your traction control, thankfully a real knob for the sound system. And then this is your shift control. So driver assistance and parking assistance right here, and then park and a little slidey doodad for the sake of your gear shift. And then here is pretty large center armrest piece. And then looking above us, this is a nice party trick. This is a fully glass roof. It does not open, but it's got a trick, and this started with the Toyota Venza of all cars. If we look at our sunroof control, you'll notice this doesn't open the roof, but it's got a sun pictured here. And that is because this is electrochromic glass. There's basically an electrical charge that runs through the glass panel, and based on how you apply it, it goes from opaque to see-through. Now what's cool with Audi here is that if I move this toggle, you'll notice it goes back like a sunshade. So you can have it close all the way up, or if you push the button in, it will give you this kind of zebra stripe effect, which is actually quite helpful because it kind of lets some sun in, but not a ton of sun. And of course, you can have it fully open or fully closed. Now, this seems like a bit of a party trick, but it's not. It's actually quite helpful, and I think it's pretty neat. So those are kind of your basics of this car. As far as my thoughts on the interior while we're sitting in here, there's a lot of piano black. There's a lot of touch-based things, neither of which I love. And the other thing is the materials in here they feel a little thin in places. It doesn't feel quite as rich as an older Audi did. And I think that also goes for the styling outside. I know they're evolving their long history of their styling path into the next generation, and I think it just looks a little too generic for me in certain ways. It's just a little too flat. I miss all of the brushed aluminum. I miss the jewelry that the older cars seem to have. It was pronounced if you got the aluminum optics. It was less so if you got the black optics to me. But in both cases, it had a little bit of contrast and a little bit of stronger visual identity. And I think this car doesn't quite have what I'd be looking for in that regard. But it drives really well. So let's get it out on the road because I do like quite a bit there. All right, so let's talk about this A6 e-tron. So this is not meant to be the sporty one, of course. That's the S6. And regardless, I think this is just nice, and it's also pretty good for the sake of doing sporty-ish things that I think most people are gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the drive select mode into dynamic. And all that's gonna do is change the air suspension. It's gonna lower the car just a touch, stiffen up that air spring rate, and give me a slightly sharper throttle, slightly heavier steering. That's all it's gonna do. You've got balanced and comfort as well. So a couple options there. Now, stepping away from a red light there, the throttle, even in the dynamic mode, is still going to be pretty, it's not super punchy like a Tesla Plaid. It still kind of meters the power out so that it feels nice and not neck snapping, if you will. However, as we go toward the interstate, if I slow down just a touch, let me get my navigation back up. If I get it pointed straight and pin it, this is plenty fast. This is very much plenty fast. So it's got power from a stop. It's got power on the highway pulling out to pass. It feels really, really good. It's not going to be gut rearranging, but like, we don't need every EV to be that. It's a party trick. So this is more than adequate power without being too insane. Now, going through this off ramp again in the dynamic mode, this is, you've got weight down low. The chassis feels nice, and you know, most people aren't going to be driving like that all the time, but it turns in pretty nicely. It's got pretty good body control, pretty good composure. So it feels really well sorted when you do ask it to do something like that. And we'll have another opportunity up here. And now that we're back in the balanced mode, you've got balanced and comfort. The ride is just really nice in here. It's so well damped. It soaks up bumps. And you know, even in the balanced mode, it will take an off ramp with pretty good competency. So I like that. I like the steering feel and the feedback. You know, it's, again, not meant to be a sports car, but it's just the default is also really, really pleasant and well balanced. So again, with the steering, it's precise enough. The car wants to change directions well enough. It's not the quickest off center, which is good. You don't want the car like this to be super twitchy and darty, and it's not. So that is all great. Now, coming up to a stop sign here, I do have this doing the more like one pedal driving mode with your transmission select. You've got D and B. B is going to be the one pedal driving. And then you've got quote shift paddles right here that are paddles if you're in drive that will set how much regen you get. If you're in B, you're just going to get the maximum amount all the time. But I think Audi does a nice job with the regenerative braking and, you know, blending that in with the regular friction brakes when you need to go for the pedal. And of course, the pedal is not always going to give you friction brakes. It's just going to do what it needs. But the blending is nice. The pedal feel is nice. The initial bite, both with the regen and as you go for the pedal, is not so much that it puts you through the windshield, but it is enough to let you know something is happening. So the drivability of this thing is just really pleasant. I have really been enjoying how they've got everything calibrated. It feels so well done, and I can't get enough of the ride quality. I think that's perhaps the highlight of the whole thing, and that is paired to a cabin that is very quiet. It is so quiet in here. It again is just pleasant. So it's been a very nice place to spend a week of my time, and it's quiet, and that helps for the sake of having conversations and keeping the outside world outside, and then also for the sake of the sound system. This has this Bang & Olufsen 3D surround system, which is quite good. Oh, danger ahead. Apparently a 4Runner turning is dangerous. It is. But The 3D sound is good. There's quite a bit of surround effect you can dial in or dial out. I did not like it at first, especially with the headrest speakers. It's kind of odd, but when you pull it back, it sounds really, really impressive. It's not going to be quite the same as that Mercedes Burmester 4D system that I tested out in the E-Class recently, but it is generally pretty impressive. Now as this Honda turns, go, 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 roll back in the power, it feels nice. Even, like, you can tell it's super torquey and super powerful, but it's not overbearing. It's just what you think it ought to be, and that's really great. I mentioned the screen setup and showed you some of it. It is a lot. These screens are showing a lot of information. It is kind of a lot to take in. It's easy enough to figure out, and I really don't love voice assistants. The Audi voice assistant is pretty smart, all things considered. You can speak to her pretty naturally, and apparently she learns what you want to do and what you tend to ask, and will try to proactively offer you more information or be helpful. TBD on how smart that actually is, because I have not had the car long enough to figure that out. Of course, if you use CarPlay or Android Auto, that's going to be fine. CarPlay will show you Google Maps and Waze and Apple Maps directions as far as next turn in the heads-up display and the cluster, but it will not show the augmented reality arrows. And those, I think, are very, very cool. They're very helpful. So I've been trying to use the native maps just as much as I can. Now, the one thing with this dashboard that I don't necessarily love is that the dash feels very high in front of me. Now, it's not really a problem because I've got good visibility for the most part out the front here, but it is a little tall compared to what I would prefer for kind of an overall dash layout. Now, visibility out the sides is pretty decent. The belt line is a little high. It's one of those cars that just feels a little tall here and makes the windows feel a little gun-slitty, but in general, it's all right. I love the big roof. That helps keep the interior feeling airy. And then, of course, we can't talk about all this without the seats. The seats in this thing are excellent. They've got extendable thigh bolsters. You can adjust everything a billion different ways. They are heated and ventilated, and very, very, very comfortable for the sake of a longer journey. So I think that, driver comfort, seating position, all that is really fantastic in here. What gives me pause about this whole car, I think the platform is very well done. I think the driving dynamics are very, very good. I think the seats are great. And, the tech is generally well executed, even if I don't love necessarily some of the layout of things. I don't know if I like the design direction that Audi's going, and I don't really talk about design and style too much on here, but this, like I mentioned earlier, just doesn't necessarily feel special enough in some ways. I'm looking at an older A5 right now as we're leaving this traffic light, and just having the dimensional elements of, the raised Audi rings and the aluminum metal everywhere, and it just felt a little more interesting to me, where this, like I said earlier, feels a little generic, a little flat. And I think especially from the exterior, you could take away the logos, and I don't know how much you'd tell it was an Audi. I think you're losing some of the brand identity. So, I'm curious to see where they go. We just saw a new Q5. We've seen the Q6. Model by model will look a little different. This one, styling-wise, isn't landing for me, but it is just so pleasant to drive. So, in any case, thank you so much for coming along. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, as we always ask you to do, and head over to outmotorsports.com if you'd like to join our membership program and connect with other LGBT automotive enthusiasts. We've got plenty of people online that would love to be your new best friend, and we've got a bunch of events that we are already planning on the street and on the racetrack for 2026. So head over there, we'll connect that way. Until next time, please stay safe, be well. See you for the next one.